I've noticed we're losing subscribers. Not the YouTube kind, but the kind that swore they'd be in my life forever. Funny how that works. One day you're surrounded by people who claim to love you, and the next, you're watching them walk away like you were just another phase in their lives. By the way, if you're here, do me a favor, subscribe. It's free, and unlike some people in my life, you won't regret sticking around. My husband is ruining my life, and I just realized it too late. It's 2 a.m. I'm crying. I'm exhausted. And for the first time, I'm saying it out loud. I see my husband as a liability, not a partner. I've kept this inside for too long, not wanting to burden my friends or family with my marital troubles. But I can't do it anymore. I'm 34, my husband, let's call him Nathan, is 37, and we've been together for 8 years. Ever since our daughter was born 3 years ago, I've realized something terrifying. I can't trust Nathan with anything. Not my daughter. Not myself. Not our home. Not even the smallest, simplest tasks. Let me back up. When I was 19, a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel and turned my car into a crumpled piece of metal with me inside. I survived, but my body has never been the same. I have enough metal in me to set off every TSA scanner at the airport, and I live with physical limitations. Some days are good, some are bad. I used part of my settlement money to buy a house outright and retrofit it to accommodate my needs, knowing that one day I'll require a wheelchair. I work in software development. It's flexible, it's enjoyable, and on bad days I can work from bed. Nathan, on the other hand, hasn't worked in 5 years. And that was fine at first. Before our daughter was born, he contributed. He handled most of the housework, ran errands, made sure things got done. We even hired a weekly cleaner so we could spend more time together. But after our daughter arrived, it was like a switch flipped in his brain. Suddenly he became unreliable, thoughtless, dangerous. He buys the wrong size diapers. He puts them on backwards. He doesn't mix her formula properly. He forgets to close the child-proof latches. Just this past week, he had to go to the store 3 times because he kept bringing home the wrong size socks and shoes. I finally gave up and ordered them myself. For me, he's even worse. He's tried to help with my weekly pill organizer and spilled my medications all over the floor. Not once. Not twice. Several times. And when he cleans up, he never gets all the pills, meaning I've had to frantically search the floor, praying our toddler doesn't put something in her mouth. He brings me grapefruit juice, knowing full well it reacts with my medication. He keeps putting dairy in my food even though I'm lactose intolerant. He's broken so many of my things just by being careless. He shattered my laptop. He tried to pack it for a trip, dropped it, and acted like it wasn't a big deal, even after I told him I'd handle my own electronics. He destroys things. We've lost countless forks and spoons to the garbage disposal because he doesn't check before turning it on. He tried to fix my car, and completely destroyed the engine. A simple head gasket replacement turned into needing a whole new car because he over-tightened a bolt until it shattered inside the engine block. 2 separate mechanics told us it couldn't be repaired. And then, a week later, he crashed the new car. And the garage door. What? Because he thought he was pressing the brakes. He wasn't. And now, he wants to be a TikTok streamer. And at first, I supported him. Nathan wasn't always like this. That's the part that hurts the most. Before our daughter was born, he was my partner. My real partner. He cooked, cleaned, took care of things. He made me feel safe. Now, he's a liability. A walking disaster that I have to constantly monitor, like a child who refuses to learn from his mistakes. 4 nights ago was my breaking point. That night, he was in the garage streaming for 9 hours straight. 9 hours of playing around in his little world, while I worked, left early to pick up our daughter from summer camp, cooked dinner, fed her, and got her ready for bed, alone. When he finally emerged from his streaming cave, I asked him for one thing: take out the trash. 2 hours later, I came out of my office and immediately knew something was wrong. The house felt warm. Too warm. The front door? Left open. I panicked. Our daughter could have wandered outside. What if someone had come in? What? I ran to check on her. She was still in bed, thank God. But then I saw something even worse. The stove was on. A burner was lit. And sitting on top of it? An empty pot. I hadn't even used the stove that night. I called out to him. Hey, I need you for a minute. He came inside, looking annoyed that I was interrupting whatever virtual nonsense he was up to. I told him the front door was open. He shrugged. I thought I locked it. He didn't. We checked the camera. The proof was right there. Then I pointed to the burner still on. Oh, I was gonna make ramen, he said. I forgot. He forgot. Just like he forgot the diapers. Just like he forgot my medication. Just like he forgot how to be a partner. Then, before I could even say anything else, he grabbed the scorching hot pot off the burner and shoved it straight into the sink, on top of our daughter's favorite plastic plate. It melted instantly. I snapped. I screamed. "What are you doing?" He realized what he'd done, but instead of taking responsibility, he made it worse. He yanked the pot out of the sink and slammed it onto our countertop. I barely caught it before it burned the surface. Ran it under cold water. My hands were shaking. "I can't do this tonight," I told him. "I'm taking my meds and going to bed." And then, he did it again. He grabbed a glass from the cupboard and set it directly onto the still hot burner. Broke. I started crying. And he had the audacity to act like I was overreacting. "It's just a plate," he said. "It's just a cup. We can replace it." I looked at him and something inside me snapped. "It's because I have a liability," I said. "Not a partner." His face changed. "What the under does that mean?" "It means I can't trust you. It means I have to watch you like a child. It means every time I think I can let my guard down, I'm the one who pays the price. I can't see you as a partner anymore. You're just another liability in my checkbook." He stormed off, went to bed. And for the past several days he's been sulking in the garage, ignoring me completely. He only talks to his online friends. He won't even look at me. He's been ordering DoorDash so he doesn't have to come inside to eat. I tried reaching out. I tried texting, asking if we could talk, if we could fix this. He just leaves me on read. If I step into the garage, he ignores me, but apologizes to his stream for the interruption. Before all of this, I tried to be patient. I tried to help him. I asked him if something was going on, if maybe he needed to see a doctor. Something had to be wrong. No one goes from being a caring, responsible husband to this. But every time he brushed me off. "People make mistakes. You're overreacting. It's not like we can't afford it." But that's not the point. The point is I can't live like this anymore. I love him. I miss who he used to be. But now I have to ask myself, am I fighting for someone who no longer exists? Search. Reason. When I went into labor, my husband had already made special arrangements with the owner of my favorite restaurant. No matter the time of day or night, as soon as I was admitted, he would send a message, and they would prepare my favorite dishes and personally deliver them to the hospital. I had no idea until the food arrived, and as soon as the familiar aroma hit me, I burst into happy tears. He knew how much I loved frogs. Whenever he found one in our yard, he would take a picture and send it to me. He even designed and vacuum-formed a custom "Welcome Home" sign featuring both of our favorite animals. If he was out and saw something frog-themed, he'd bring it home as a surprise. On my worst pain days when I could barely leave bed, he would bring my meals on a wooden tray he had built himself. A tray that could convert from a carrying tray to a bed tray inspired by hospital food trays. When I struggled to put on socks or shoes, he would gently help me. He even learned how to do different hairstyles, optos, curls, and straightening, just so he could help me feel beautiful when my body made me feel anything but. That's the man I fell in love with, the man I miss so deeply. He's still there sometimes, but more and more it feels like he's fading away. Update. Sorry for the delay in responding, and thank you to everyone who shared feedback and support. It's been a week now. Before I get into the update, I want to address some common questions. If you want to skip ahead, the actual update starts in 8 paragraphs. 1. Why doesn't my husband work? He could find a job, but we both agreed that the pay was never worth the toxic environments in his field unless he wanted to start his own business, which he didn't. He used to work in home repair and renovation, but the industry was full of misogyny. He saw female customers and co-workers being harassed and manipulated into buying unnecessary services at premium prices. If he spoke up, his hours would get cut until he was forced to quit. At one job, his boss left a screaming voicemail on his first day because he refused to sell a refrigerant service to a young black couple who didn't even need it. He documented everything, reported multiple companies to the state labor board, and followed up. Nothing ever came of it. He later tried working in a factory and a warehouse, but both jobs penalized him heavily for needing scheduled time off for my medical needs. There are no worker protections for that here unless you qualify for unpaid FMLA, which takes a year of employment. Yes, being able to quit a job is a privilege. I've done it before too. But I'm fortunate to work for a company that is the complete opposite of toxic. I'm thriving, and my employer has an enforced policy of unlimited paid sick leave, with immediate termination for any manager who penalizes someone for using it. With a child in the mix, the reality is that unless my husband finds another rare unicorn employer who won't punish him for needing time off for me or our daughter, like when daycare closed for a week due to an RSV outbreak, it makes more sense for him to stay out of the workforce. Financially, my job pays nearly double his highest salary with no penalties for time off. Switching roles wouldn't make sense. 2. Does he make money from streaming or TikTok? No. His live streams average 6 viewers and he has 3 Twitch followers. When we did our taxes, he hadn't even received a 1099. The total he made from TikTok live gifts last year? $6. Nothing from Twitch. His numbers have remained about the same. 3. Why do we still have a weekly housekeeper and send our daughter to summer camp and part-time daycare? Because I don't believe in one spouse working a single 40-hour-a-week job while the other juggles full-time domestic labor, childcare, enrichment, and socialization, essentially being on call 24/7. I never wanted a dynamic where one partner carried the full burden of domestic responsibilities, childcare, and enrichment while the other worked a single job for 40 hours a week. I couldn't fathom placing that kind of weight on someone I love and cherish. If my husband took on every activity, field trip, and learning opportunity that daycare provides, his evenings and weekends would be consumed with housework and responsibilities I physically struggle to assist with. Having a weekly housekeeper helps prevent the cycle of deferred cleaning paralysis, where small, missed tasks pile up into overwhelming, impossible projects. The monthly deep clean and organization sessions have been a form of self-care, especially as we navigated the transition from having an infant to a toddler. Edited to add, our daughter started part-time daycare when she turned 3. Before that, my husband was her primary caretaker, which made the weekly housekeeping even more important to keeping things from spiraling into chaos. 4. The allowance situation. Yes, I wanted my husband to have financial independence, even if he wasn't earning an income. Maybe I've spent too much time on social media, but I've seen far too many stories of stay-at-home spouses, mostly women, who were financially controlled or unable to leave unhealthy marriages because they had no private savings. Should I have cut off the allowance sooner when things became unbalanced? Yes. I take full responsibility for that. 5. What happens if we divorce? The house and settlement balance are in a trust, completely separate, and as far as my lawyer can tell, out of his reach. Alimony would be up to a judge, but given my documentation of his expired certifications and my ongoing medical expenses, there's a good chance I wouldn't be obligated. I think that covers the background questions. Now on to the update. The update. On Friday, I finished work to the smell of food cooking. My husband was plating dinner as I stepped out of my office. He said he wanted to talk over dinner. Some people had warned me that my post had made its way onto multiple TikToks, which I appreciated. It gave me time to prepare for the possibility that he'd see it. I have a lot of feelings about my story being used for content on the very platform that has contributed to my child and me being neglected. None of them are good. He did see a TikTok about it. He asked if it was me. I told him the truth. Yes, I wrote it. Yes, that's how I feel. Yes, I read the Reddit comments. And no, I will not delete or change my words just because I know he can see them. I don't know how to describe his reaction, but he said he spent the last day reflecting on how bad things must be for so many people to suggest potential medical explanations for his behavior. He insisted he's not ADHD. His mother was addicted to opioids and Ritalin when he was a kid and tried to get multiple doctors to diagnose him with ADHD so she could get more pills. He believed he had it for years, but when he became an adult, he sought out 2 separate opinions. Both confirmed he did not. He didn't learn about his mom's addiction until his mid-20s. After that, he went to therapy to process everything. That said, he's willing to see a psychiatrist again. He doesn't believe he has ADHD or autism, but he admitted that he might be depressed. If not, he'll still go through with testing for other medical possibilities, if only to ease my mind and rule out any serious issues. I believe he was sincere, but something he said has been stuck in my head. He joked, then immediately apologized when he saw the hurt in my eyes, that maybe everyone was right. Maybe something was wrong in his brain since he chose to love and marry someone medically fragile, knowing our life together would never be normal. That one stung. He also admitted that the night he left the door open, ruined our child's favorite dish, and left a pot burning on the stove, he had been drinking too much on his stream. He promised to monitor that more closely. Apparently, for the past few nights, he's been filling his wine bottle with grape juice so it looks like he's drinking, but he's actually sober. He said he'd keep doing that. After dinner, he surprised me by taking me to see the new Deadpool movie. We didn't go to our usual theater. He had researched which ones had limited edition popcorn buckets, and now I have a baby Deadpool popcorn holder with a built-in drink cup. The next day we sat down and talked. We went over everything, how our family dynamic had shifted, how all the little things had piled up, how I need action as part of an apology. If you say sorry, but keep making the same mistakes, the words are meaningless to me. He didn't realize how often he was repeating the same behaviors. On Sunday, we discussed both short-term and long-term changes. Immediate actions. He's scheduling his own doctor appointments. Timelines for expectations. If he breaks or damages something, repairs or replacements will no longer come out of our shared household account. He will pay for them himself from his personal allowance. Allowance update. I turned direct deposits back on, but only for $50 per paycheck. He actually suggested keeping it that way until he's paid back the cost of repairing the garage and the car from earlier this year. He admitted it will take him much longer to make up for the cost of destroying the engine in my last vehicle, but he's going to step up and find ways to fix it. I see the red flags. I see the love bombing, the failure to recognize patterns, the assumption that verbal apologies are enough, the lack of understanding that repeating the same behavior is the same as never apologizing at all. And yes, I know he will read this. Do I think this is resolved? That we'll be a perfect couple who stays together until one of us dies? No. Full offense to my husband. For now, I see potential for a resolution. But he's fully aware that he has a lot to make up for, a lot to fix, and a tight schedule to make it happen. This situation will either teach our daughter that true accountability means real change, or it will show her the consequences of failing to take accountability at all. Steering a wayward ship. Taking accountability is the right thing to do, even if it doesn't get you the outcome you wanted. Love alone isn't enough. TLDR. Wow, this sucks. I suck for letting it get this far. My husband sucks for what he's put us through. Life owes me a dinner date if it's going to screw me this hard. There is a potential path forward that doesn't involve divorce. But it may still involve divorce. Edit to add, he finally read the post. So please read between the lines of what I'm actually saying. If it's not obvious, read the last 4 words of the previous 4 paragraphs. Relevant comments and responses. Comment 1. There is some truth to his joke. Your medical needs have impacted his ability to work. Neither of you seem very keen on being actual partners. Given your stance on alimony and money, I hope he looks out for his own financial interests. My response. I'm trying to be a partner. That's why I've been supportive, paying for housekeeping, part-time daycare, which is currently full-time summer camp, and ensuring he has his own money to spend however he wants. Yes, my medical needs impact his ability to work. That would hurt him in an alimony case because if we weren't together, he wouldn't need a unicorn job with unlimited PTO. Would I still help him land somewhat softly on his feet? Most likely. From what I've been told, a judge would be less likely to obligate alimony under these circumstances. Comment 2. You need to grow a spine and have hard conversations with your husband if you really want things to improve. My response. I wish I could grow a spine, but the one I have is currently held together with duct tape, screws, rust, and pure vibes. I'm well aware that he's in full-on panic mode and that the next month, if that, is going to be a refreshing but temporary change. I get that some people dogpiled on me unfairly before, but assuming that me wanting to verify whether my husband is choosing to suck somehow means I intend to keep living like this? That's a reach. Comment 3. Your posts have more traction after a week than his entire streaming career combined. I have a hard time believing he couldn't hold a job just because his work environment was toxic. My response. Look, I wasn't going to say it, but you're not wrong. The toxic work environment part? Unfortunately, very true. I've seen the evidence he submitted to the labor board. But before everything went sideways, things were really nice when he was a house husband. I'm sad he squandered that. Barring some catastrophic collapse in my career field, I'll be financially able to retire in just a few years. Now am I the wrong thread. Am I the asshole for renting my house to a friend with poor financial habits?